projects I work on is the Devon Community Resilience Forum, which is has two main strands to it. One is supporting communities to plan for emergency, to put together their own emergency plan, and the other is providing grant funding, smallish grants, but money that enables them to buy equipment they need to deal with emergencies. Two of me. So we've got a representative from one of those, Dawlish Town Council, Angie Weatherhead here, works for the Town Council, on resilience and emergency planning, amongst many other things I'm finding out. And Dawlish, of course, is one of the communities hit quite recently by flooding. In fact, not even more recently than I realised when I was planning this, as Angie was up at 6:30 this morning, dealing with exactly that, I think. Yeah. So she's going to talk a little bit about the experience of planning for emergencies, working with the community and working with us. So just a little context. The original plan was 2016, I think. We've given advice last year about updating it, so Martin, one of our officers, was working on that. And more recently, we've provided them with a further grant for equipment to help them manage the process. I'll hand over to Angie. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Angie Weatherhead. I'm Events, Projects and Tourism Officer for Dawlish Town Council, and only part of my job is emergency planning. But just to give you a bit of history really, and to tell you where we got to today, most of you will know Dawlish from 2014, when the railway line was swept away and we were national news with the hole. Today we have a new seawall and there's still works ongoing, and I'm happy to say that is doing really well. But in between then and now, we've had a gas emergency when a gas main leaked and we had to close a road and people had to be put to emergency centres. And how did the emergency plan work then? It actually wasn't invoked, people just did their own thing, but it worked fine, sort of. And then of course there was COVID, never in anyone's emergency plan. And suddenly the community came together and we actually formed something and facilitated something called Helping Dawlish, which actually brings together about 15 to 20 organisations around Dawlish to bring the best out of them. It's an informal partnership where each organisation does their own thing, but they all come together to talk, facilitate and have projects. And that came together through COVID, and it still exists today, and it functions looking at cost of living and the Ukrainian situation, where we have host families in Dawlish and how we can support both the guests and the hosts. It all goes quiet again, and then suddenly in September we had a flash flood. And again, yes, we're on BBC Spotlight for all the wrong tourism reasons. However, you know, people love it because they come and take pictures for social media. And what was interesting was we actually found out about the flash flood to start with because people were out there looking at the brook and seeing how it was rising. And then again, we've had storms in November, of which part of the seawall, not the new seawall, has been damaged, but part of it is closed. And this morning, as Rod kindly said, at 6:34 my phone went off and someone said, "This is flooded, we need to put a road closure on." And the flood action group was WhatsApping away. I have to say my high vis went over my pyjamas. So where are we with our emergency plan? Well, in 2015 it was revised, and until I met Rod today I didn't even know it had been approved, because there's nothing in the council minutes anyway to say it was approved at the time, but obviously it's held the 2016 version. I then started to revise it as part of my job up until about December 2022, and Martin kindly came and gave us a talk, and councillors were sort of interested, but let's be honest, emergency plans aren't sexy, are they? You know, they really aren't. And trying to engage people in perhaps what looked like then a document of 54 pages with annexes is never going to be on the top of the priority. So we've started to think about how can we engage people. You know, it's really important that this emergency plan isn't just an emergency plan, it's a community emergency plan. We're a parish. You know, we're not only the town centre, we are Dawlish, Holcombe, Cockwood and Dawlish Warren, where the holiday parks are. So how can we engage, how can we get volunteers involved? you know, we started to think really these things and look at the plan. And then, Rod, you said to bring anecdotes today, so I will. In about the February time, it looked like the plan was progressing. And then we progressed a bit more. And then, unfortunately, one of the local councillors stood up and we were talking about it and they said, you can't do this, there's PERDA. I said, PERDA? How does PERDA affect the plan? We can't put anybody's names in it. So it sort of went on hold again. In June we had a new council and finally we got a Dawlish Community Plan Emergency Task and Finish group to finish putting the plan together from 2015-2016. The Environment Agency have been really helpful. They've given us maps, you know, which have frightened most people by looking at what the floodplain possibly is. And we started to coordinate our equipment. We had some equipment. My job is events, and we have a lot of equipment for events. And we started to put some of that, with agreement of the District Council, into a sandbag store. So that when you went to get the sandbags, you could also get the road signs, the high-vis, the torches. We started to think a bit more joined up than we had previously, where the sandbags are here, the high-vis is there, the torches are there, and no one knows how to get to all of them. And then the flash flood came in September, and there's nothing like an emergency to focus the mind. And suddenly we had a situation where volunteers were coming forward and saying, what can we do? It also became clear, although we got this emergency plan, this wonderful draft, no one had read it. And the reason I know that is because what started to happen didn't accord with what we said we would do. And it became clear, and when we did the debrief, that actually it needs to be much simpler. It needs to be, you know, green, amber, red, whatever. Just these simple signals to people. And what happened the day of the flash flood is volunteers came out, we set up the WhatsApp group like that. We've been all these discussions about having a WhatsApp group, how are volunteers going to talk to each other? And we did it. Didn't argue, just got on, did it. GDPR notwithstanding. And then we started to look at what we was doing. The brook was flooding, and we had returned firefighters coming out, and in fact some of us got in the brook and we pulled stuff out because it was actually there was stuff coming down from quite high up land all the way down, and it's actually taken out the whole of our brook lights. If you come to Dawlish, one of the things people like is the brook lights. They're not there this year. They're not working because the flood took them out. So what came of it? The good thing was we learned that the thing that people are most concerned about when we have a flood in Dawlish is not the buildings, it's not the brook, it's the swans. The most commonly asked question on social media, and our emergency plan now addresses this, someone puts a message out, are they safe? They are safe. So the first question we got this morning on social media, are the cygnets all right? And so we had video of the 4 cygnets in the flooded area of the brook this morning. Where do we go from here? Well, luckily, heard from Rod about this time, I think about this time, when places had been flooded and we could apply for an emergency grant. So we immediately got on, I see money, pound signs, got on, bought some more equipment that we could top up, and in fact, the high-vis, the flood signs were out this morning. So it's working. Our mayor made a video to say, if you're a volunteer and you want to get involved, this is how you get involved, come and talk to us. That's worked on social media. We've worked out that in our emergency plan there is a role for everybody. You can be the swan spotter. You can be the person that wants to go and put the high-vis on and stand in the water, as long as our insurance allows it. But there is a role for anyone, whether it be the person in the emergency evacuation centre who makes the tea, or just says hello. So we've said we're open to everyone being involved to help us. We've still got problems. We've got problems with insurance about what people can do, because unfortunately, you know, people don't always understand that we're there till the emergency services get there, or we assist the emergency services. You know, we are not 999. We will be there as best we can, but we are not replacing the emergency services. I think the other thing, we also have to work hard now to engage with the District Council and Devon County Council. Does our plan fit? Does it fit with all the other neighbouring authorities, such as Star Cross? So it's always going to be, I think, a work in progress. But just to share one final anecdote with you, which sometimes makes you wonder why you do it, is when we were getting in the brook, when it flash flooded in the autumn, we pulled out stuff and we put it on the side. And the side of the land that we're putting it on is not town council land, it's district council land. But we put it on, and the town clerk kindly told the district council that we pulled this stuff out for good reason, because it was safe to do so. It was going to cause a problem, and unfortunately we've been told recently that could be fly tipping. So we are always learning, but I think at the moment we're really engaging. We hope to do more of that with Rod and with Martin, about how we can make it better. I don't think we'll ever have a perfect emergency plan, but I think whatever have will be the best that we can do, and it'll always be changing and evolving, but it's a community emergency plan, so I hope that's helped you.
Are you happy to take any questions?
Yes,
And actually, thank you for that. I mean, such a really good practical example about the difference between pragmatism and some of the sort of administrative stuff that